Hello everyone! I am here finally to create a video I've been wanting to do for quite some time. I apologize to the person that I let know that this video was coming a couple weeks ago, that it's been several weeks now since I said this video was coming out. Things just got in the way. And so I'm so happy I'm finally sitting down to do a tier ranking video for one of my all-time favorite artists. If you've watched my channel for a long time, then you would know that Enya, the Irish musician, is one of my all-time favorites. I grew up on her music. She is just something else. And people who aren't familiar with her music, I highly recommend familiarize yourself with. I mean, she is always going to be an icon in the new age genre of music, which of course I know she and I agree that that is not really the proper designation for her genre. It's more Celtic classical. There's a lot of different categories you could put her music into, but the category isn't the point. Her music just has a very soulful, spiritual, healing power to it, and some of the most beautiful melodies that I have ever heard. So I am very excited to be ranking all of her songs from her nearly 35-year career at this point, across all of her official studio albums. And I actually created a tier list ranker on Tiermaker, the website, and I will be using these categories that I created, and ultimately, hopefully coming up with a list that I feel satisfied with, and I hope you as watching, if you're Enya fans, will agree with. I mean, I understand this is a subjective opinion, so you might disagree. I've got my Enya shirt on today as well, in the spirit of today's video. So without too much prologue and ado, I am going to be just getting into this. I'm very excited. We're going to be starting with reverse order in her music career here, but I just want to go over the categories first. So in the very top tier, we have Mere Mortals Could Never. So this is this sort of creme de la creme top tier. There are going to be only a few songs in this category. And the songs that might go into it will probably also be songs that are, if not my favorite of all time, across all music I've ever heard, but definitely for Enya herself. Songs that I just think are truly beyond even transcendent, which is the below category, which still is for music that I really love. These two categories are songs of hers that would fill any greatest hits album of mine if I created one for her music. All of the songs that I highly recommend listening to, and songs that are just still, like I said, like the title implies, transcendent. The next category is a perfectly pretty tune. So these are songs that I also love, but they're just, okay, do I have to phone home about them? Maybe not. Maybe, and I'm going to try and rank them within these categories in order. So the ones that are further to the left are going to be stronger than the ones to the right. So it's sort of going to be split in the middle, but like some of the songs in the higher end of this category maybe could go in transcendent. We'll see how things go. Probably going to move things around. But these three categories are all songs I like of hers. The fourth category is going to be nothing groundbreaking. So just a little bit below Perfectly Pretty Tune. These are songs that, I don't hate by any means, but I certainly am not going to phone home about. Songs that, I think leave a little bit more to be desired and are just fine. They basically just pass below an F. Let's just put it that way. So then we have the two negative categories. We have elevator music. This is for her songs that I think are pretty forgettable. I think, unfortunately, something that a lot of people criticize Enya's music for is that it is perfect for, background, spa, massage music, but nothing else. It's not got a lot more substantive reason to listen beyond just being something in the background, which I highly disagree for a lot of her music. But I understand that there's a lot of instrumentals, there's a lot of stuff in there that could easily fall into that category. And so these are going to be songs that I personally do feel like, yeah, they don't exactly grab the ear in the way that I'd like them to. They're nice, but they're not something that's special. Maybe the melody is not as stirring or strong. And so, yeah, they don't really do that much for me. They're kind of forgettable. I would not put them on a greatest hits album. And they are basically just elevator music. And then the very bottom category I put as cringe. This is basically there's only going to be one or two songs in this category, maybe three. I'm not sure yet. These are basically songs that, you know, I don't know what Enya, Roma, and Nikki were thinking when they made it. It's just a no, as we would say, as in the Simon Cowell voice. It's a no for me. This just is a song that shouldn't have been made. It's just not good. So basically, here we have our categories. And I think the middle categories are probably going to have a lot of the songs. And then, like I said, that's usually how tier ranking goes. I'll be interested to see how things fit. Let's get started with her most recent album from 2015, Dark Sky Island. We have The Humming. It's always so hard to place the first few songs on these tier ranking charts. I'm always like, I have no idea what to do. I am going to place The Humming in a perfectly pretty tune. This is definitely a song I do think favorably of, and I remember hearing snippets for back when this album was announced in 2015, one of the most exciting music announcements I can remember in my more recent memory. And we heard some snippets of the verses, and I just was like, this is really interesting. This sounds like a little bit more like old school Enya. This is something that I think is going to be really kind of avant-garde and intriguing. And then when we got the final song, it left a little bit to be desired for me in the chorus. I don't know what was, but it just washed out a bit the energy and appeal that I think the verses had, the intrigue, for a somewhat repetitive, not so exciting chorus. So it's unfortunately not transcendent for that reason, but I certainly wouldn't put this in the very low point of this category. So I Could Find My Way, a really beautiful lamentative ballad about, I believe it was Nikki's mother who passed away. She wrote this song for, inspired by, she was very close to her. Nikki is her producer, one of the three, the trio that make this music. Um, this is a tough one. I could see myself putting it in Nothing Groundbreaking just because she has trod this kind of this lamentative melody territory before, probably in a much stronger way. But at the same time, there is something about this song that evokes such an emotional response for me that is the melody is beautiful. So I can already tell you that I'm really struggling, and it's only number 2. So I am already kind of at a loss here. So I'm afraid I am going to put it in a perfectly pretty tune, but I'm going to put it here, and we'll see if I decide to move that. Even in the Shadows, a very up-tempo stirring string section we've got, the percussive part. I'm not as big a fan of this song as some people are. I just, for me, find some of her more up-tempo songs a little bit redundant, and not as stirring melodically. So I'm afraid I'm going to put this in Nothing Groundbreaking, even though it is somewhat different sounding from some of her other music. It still, to me, does not sound interesting enough to rise above her catalog. Forge of the Angels, we've got an instrumental track. I'm afraid, I mean, again, it's tough because it's just at this point there's territory like this that has been done in a stronger way. But I actually do think this one is stronger than Even in the Shadows, which I know might be a little controversial here. Echoes in Rain, I think, is a perfect example of Nothing Groundbreaking. This is a song that we were all excited Enya was returning after 7 years, but, you know, it was also sort of like the excitement was all this song was. It's kind of a cheesy song. I mean, the chorus is overly simplistic lyrically, and it's relying on a lyrical trope or a metaphor for rain, which she has done to death. Roma Ryan really needs to stop writing about rain, as we've had rain referenced in a lot of her song titles and lyrics in the past. And so it just feels a little bit like territory we've trod before. I Could Never Say Goodbye. This feels like a traditional Irish melody. But unfortunately, for that reason, I still think it's not exactly something we've never heard from her before. We've heard stronger. So I'm afraid Nothing Groundbreaking seems to be a lot of what Dark Sky Island is at this point. Okay, but then we have the title track. Finally, something I can put in Transcendence. This is definitely a song above the rest of the record. It's my favorite song from this album. It so beautifully evokes the night sky and the idea of a dark sky island or a dark sky area where you can see more stars than you ever could due to the lack of light pollution as you're kind of going out on this boat to some island that's remote. And she sings in a choral way, in the way that we love her to. It's a very music of the stars kind of moment with a very visceral connection to something spiritual about it. I'm very much a fan of this one. Sancta Maria. She goes to church. She likes to do that. Very repetitive, but a very sweet melody with some excellent layering, some excellent instrumental layering, some excellent vocal layering. So definitely something that I prefer on that record to some of the other songs. If not, it's a bit simplistic melodically, as we know, but I still find it to be actually quite mellifluous, is a word I like to use to describe her music. Astra et Luna. The intro to this song is so melancholy. That slight humming of the guitar or the string of the harp, I'm not entirely sure which it is, as we get that soft, delicate vocalization from her before it becomes a little bit more of a traditional orchestral, backboned, up-tempo melody from her. I'm going to put it as a perfectly pretty tune. I'm definitely more of a fan of this song than others. The Loxian Gate. I really wanted more from this song. I don't know if it's just because there's better songs sung in Loxian, which is a made-up language she created for an album preceding this one. I don't know if because The River Sings from that record is just so rhythmic and so wonderfully constructed that I just feel like this song is paling in comparison. But this song leaves a lot to be desired for me. I want more crashing drums. I want more cymbals and gongs and just more of that classic Enya rhythmic feel that is so tribal and primordial. And I'm not getting enough of that. Maybe they just didn't throw enough of that into the mix with the synths and the instrumentals that they put in. Because I'm feeling like it's a little light in that department. And so I don't get quite the same level of amp that I would like. And so for that reason, I am going to put this in sort of more of the nothing groundbreaking category. Diamonds on the Water describes itself, basically. It's such a wonderful, peaceful, relaxing melody, as you would expect from Enya. The perfect sonic representation of a lazy day in a bubble bath, which some people might consider a little bit elevator music, but I definitely think it is much stronger than that. So I am definitely going to put it in the perfectly pretty tune category. For me, it is still, I think, a very strong, if not simplistic song, especially lyrically. Some of the lyrics leave a little bit to be desired. Pale Grass Blue. When I made my Dark Sky Island review, someone informed me in the comments, because I had no idea what this title was referring to, but it's apparently a type of butterfly or moth that is predominantly found in southern Asia, so like Indonesia, areas like that. And it's called a pale grass blue. And so for that reason, I found this song just even more, I think, evocative of something like I was imagining, which is, an Arcadian sort of fairy tale esque influence that was coming through. And so for that reason, I'd say this is one of the more transcendent songs. I would have easily swapped it out for some of the songs on the standard edition. I don't know why it got designated to bonus track. But Pale Grass Blue is honestly even more, I think, transcendent than Dark Sky. Nah, I don't know about that. That's a tough one. They're very close. Okay, Solace. This is where I am afraid I do have to put you in the... I can see why this was a bonus track. She's trod this sort of lyrical content before, and I'm just not getting enough from the melody here. It's too plodding. And then Remember Your Smile. I think if you've seen my album review, you know how I feel about that one. It's a little corny. It's a little cringe. It's a sweet song, but it definitely feels like a tacked on bonus track where it's a very simple melody that you'd maybe play for a child to sort of, fill out a nursery rhyme compendium. That's all it really feels like to me. Some of the corniest lyrics Roma's ever written. Okay, nothing win in this category. Interesting to say. So, this one comes close. Let's go to her 2008 album, And Winter Came. This title track is very strong. Out of all of her instrumentals, it might not be my favorite, especially one that shares an album title, but it is still a beautiful song. So I think I'm going to put it around here or something. There's just something very melancholic and evocative about the haunting nature of the melody and the call that it has, and especially evoking the idea of summer and fall fading into winter. Journey of the Angels. An interesting take on a Christmas inspired story of a song. There are some really interesting choral elements to this one. Um, I think I put this on the lower end of a perfectly pretty tune. White is in the winter night. All right, so I'm afraid we are definitely in cringe territory with this one. I don't know what it is, but the really syncopated, on the beat rhythmic section to this song is very cheesy to me sounding. I mean, it's the kind of music that definitely makes me roll my eyes a little bit. I mean, it's cute. It's sort of geared to children. That's all I can say about it. O Come, Emmanuel. A beautiful, haunting rendition of that song. Again, since these are covers, I don't exactly feel like they deserve to be put in some of the really high categories for that reason. So I'm afraid I am going to have to put it in nothing groundbreaking. Trains and Winter Rains. Here we go with rain again. This is what I mean by her later years, her later singles always having rain in the title. This song is confusing to me. I understand the sort of sonic thing she was going for and the imagery of the lyrics, but at the same time, there was something that always felt a little off to me about this song. It's not a single, it's probably like one of my least favorite like singles she's ever put out. So for that reason, I am going to put it in Echoes. I'm going to put it next to Echoes and Rain, but just a little, maybe above it. Maybe Echoes and Rain is my least favorite single she's put out, actually, now that I say that. I don't know. They're in the same category for me. I just want more from them. Dreams Are More Precious. Nothing groundbreaking. Last Time by Moonlight. A perfectly pretty tune. Very romantic. One Toy Soldier. Yeah. Stars in Midnight Blue. Very pretty. Maybe I'll put you around here. The Spirit of Christmas Past. My Time Flies. This is one of those songs that's so left field for Enya. It's a little more classic rock and roll. You can tell she was inspired by the Beatles. It's a corny song, but at the same time, I wouldn't necessarily put it in cringe. And I wouldn't necessarily put it in elevator music, except for the fact that, I'm going to be kind. I'm going to be kind, and I'm going to put it in nothing groundbreaking, but at the same time, being aware that it's not a song I come back to that often. And then Oe Kikun, probably butchered that pronunciation. The Gaelic version of Silent Night. A beautiful moment, nothing groundbreaking, but very beautiful nonetheless. She has a version of that is not choral from 1994, I believe, that I think is even more stirring, but both versions are beautiful. So we go back to 2007. She preemptively did a Christmas. She's done Christmas attached projects before And Winter Came. She re-released Aniron Time with 3 Christmas songs in the, pardon me, in 2006, not 2007, in the fall of that year. And so we got the Christmas hymn Adeste Fidelis, a beautiful rendition of the song. Again, it's similar to Where's O Come Emmanuel. Like, it's a very similar sort of nothing special kind of thing. I think I'm going to put it like around here, maybe. But I mean, it's so, every Christmas time you have to listen to it. It's so stirring. The Magic of the Night, I think, is definitely more in the elevator music category here. Not so big a fan of this one. Christmas Secrets is actually not too bad, considering it's, again, another somewhat cheesy children's Christmas song. But it's an original, so again, I give her props for that. I'm having a hard time here. Do I want to put it in I don't know if it quite deserves that. I think I'm going to put it in around here. And then, all right, we're into her 2005 album, Amarantine, Less Than a Pearl. So I really am not sure whether I want to put this song in the top category or not. There is something so powerful about this one. It's also sung in that made-up language, Loxian. And talk about, mere mortals could never. I mean, there's just such genius behind this composition. It's so timeless. I'm going to put it in Transcendent for now, but I have a feeling it's going to move up into that category. Amarantine, this is one of those where it's like, she's had stronger songs. It's not something that special. It's in the rain. So the best rain song for sure. Definitely going to put high up here. The humming reminds me of It's in the Rain. And I just think that It's in the Rain is just a little bit stronger. But I definitely feel like there's a recycling. I'm not saying it's redundant, but there's definitely a similar sort of feel to both of those songs. The River Sings. I mean, gosh, these two are just, these two Loxian songs on Amarantine are just something else. I'm really, I'm going to have to revisit this, but right now I am really struggling here. Do I put The River Sings above Less Than a Pearl, though? Maybe I do. This is like probably the best song that you could dance to from Enya's catalog. I mean, the rhythm on this one is insane. If I Could Be Where You Are, it's so simple, so plaintive, but so emotionally gravitating. I find this melody to just gut me a lot of the time, especially if I'm in a certain mood. So definitely a strong song here. I am very much a fan. Yeah, Long, Long Journey, not that excited, not that special. Basically a glorified row your boat. Sumaragusa, Wild Violet in Japanese, definitely a Transcendent song here. Gosh, I'm already having such a hard time deciding how to rank these. Okay, so I am going to put Sumaragusa in Mere Mortals Could Never. And I'm saying that because I just think there is something absolutely transcendent about this song that captures the Japanese meditative quality on nature, the way that nature is described and sung, the melody. Thought was really put into this one to create something truly, truly elevated. And I really think something powerful was, something magical was happening in the studio the day that song was put together. A Moment Lost, a beautiful, again, more lamentative melody here. Put you right around there. Someone Said Goodbye. I think that there's stronger songs. I'm gonna put this one in elevator music. Put that there. Amid the Fallen Snow. Put you down here. Water Shows the Hidden Heart. A beautiful song that really showcases her vocal talent. It's a little bit more focused on her beautiful soprano vocal. And it's the other song sung in Loxian. I forgot there are 3 on that record. And boy, they really blow a lot of the English language songs out of the park. In fact, all the songs I really love off Amarantine are the ones not in English. Japanese or Loxian. Those are the languages to beat. And then we have Drifting. I think that this is definitely the definition of elevator music. I think that there's just a lot more to be asked for from this song. And I know that its purpose is not really to be something that grabbing, but it definitely kind of is something you forget is on, and it's sort of not enough of a stirring melody to really capture you in it. Whereas there's an instrumental called The Comb of the Winds that I think is maybe just a little bit stronger, and I'm going to put in nothing groundbreaking, but still like actually somewhat a little bit more melodically evocative. All right, we have the Lord of the Rings Fellowship of the Ring credit song, May It Be. This is one of her strongest ballads that she's ever created. And for that reason, I am going to put it in Mere Mortals Could Never. I think May It Be is one of those timeless songs that, is rightfully so very lauded by, I mean, it nearly won an Academy Award. Looking back, why did Monsters Inc. have to get that instead? The silly song from Monsters Inc. won out over this one. Understandably, she was very nervous while she performed it on stage at the Oscars, as I would be for sure. I really don't blame her. But it's definitely a song that has gone down in sort of the pop culture landscape as one of those classic kind of Titanic moment songs. A lot of people would say that this is, I mean, because The Lord of the Rings was such a huge success, and I'm so glad she was attached to it. Enya is a huge fan of The Lord of the Rings, and I wish she had even considered putting more music for some of the later films, but the music she gave to Fellowship was so beautiful. I just realized I don't have Aniron on here, which is a song that is sung for the love scene between Aragorn and Arwen in Fellowship of the Ring. They put it on the soundtrack under the title The Council of Elrond on the Fellowship of the Ring soundtrack from Howard Shore, but it got a standalone version on the 2009 Greatest Hits album. And they took away a little bit more of the orchestral elements and just focused on her vocal layering. And it's a beautiful rendition, but it's funny I don't have it on here. So I suppose Aniron would go somewhere, in here, the top line of here, lower line of here. A very beautiful song. I just forgot to put it in this. Don't know why. We go to her 2000 album, A Day Without Rain. So once again, the first time rain came up in her song titles, but one of the strongest. A Day Without Rain is a truly beautiful piano instrumental. Opens up the album beautifully. It so beautifully captures the idyllic landscape of a beautiful sunny afternoon when it's been raining for so long and you finally see the flowers and the brightness of the sky and the sun hitting your face. Wild Child, very up-tempo, perfectly fun song, meaning it's a perfectly pretty tune, but it's nothing that hugely special to me. Only Time is one of those songs that I think is a little overrated. It's arguably her most popular and well-known song, along with Orinoco Flow. When most people think of Enya, they think of one of those two songs, particularly this one. Following the 9/11 attacks, this song became sort of like the tribute song that attached, because it came out a year before, but Enya sort of capitalized, rightly so, on the fact that people were gravitating towards this song. And so it's her only song to chart in like the top 10 in the US, I think. And it did really well in 2002 and 2001 for that reason. But I don't think it's nearly as strong as May It Be, which was another song coming out around the same time for The Lord of the Rings. So I think, I'm afraid most people might put this a lot higher, but for me, I'd say this is definitely more of just a perfectly pretty tune. And I'm going to put it around here, which I think some people might be a little bit shocked. I do want to just do a little bit of a rearranging here. Actually, no, you know what? I'm okay with this as it is. Tempus Vernum. This is a tough one because I honestly feel like this song is meant to be listened to with its attached song, which is a gorgeous Gaelic ballad. On its own, this song really doesn't do very much for me. And so I'm afraid I am going to have to put it pretty low here. I'm probably going to put it somewhere around here just because it's so kind of simplistic. It's just this very gothic sounding, very ominous chant. But what it transcends to is something very, very beautiful. And so Diora Armukwa is definitely one of those haunting, beautiful, visceral ballads of hers in Gaelic that have really stood the test of time. It's actually one of, besides that Silent Night she did choral version, in 2008. It's one of the last songs she ever sung in Gaelic for an album. I hope she brings a little bit more of that back. Flora Secret, not such a big fan of this one. Probably put it around Even in the Shadows. Just kind of simplistic around Amaranthine. It's bordering on the saccharine. Fallen Embers. Fallen Embers has a really beautiful bridge between the chorus that I think really sells the song for me. So I'm gonna put you just around so I could find my way. Maybe about here. Okay, so Silver Inches, definitely not a huge fan of this one. It's such a short, simplistic melody. I'm not entirely sure. I know that Silver Inches are a type of flower, I believe, but I feel like this is begging for more. This is just one of those instrumentals where more is more, and we needed more with this. And it's bordering on cringe. It's definitely elevator music. Pilgrim, love the sentiment behind it. Just not the strongest melody of hers. I'll put that around here. One by One, Rihanna fans might recognize this song was sampled by her on her 2010 album Loud in the song Fading, which I thought was very interesting. I'm going to put this on the low end of a perfectly pretty tune. It's kind of an interesting melody for Enya, and just it's a catchy song. It'll get stuck in your head. The First of Autumn really showcases some string arrangements, but there's not a whole lot there besides some echoed vocals, and so for that reason it's not really that exciting to me. I think I'm going to put it around here. Lazy Days, I get where she was going, but this falls into the category of sort of forgettable for me. And it's just not a song that I think really kind of stands out enough. And then there's a bonus track called Isabella, which was only released in Japan and then released with The Day Without Rain. And then it was released as a B-side for the May It Be single that was released in 2002, around when the Oscars came out. And this is definitely a song that should have been swapped out for, a First of Autumn or a Flora Secret. This is a very gorgeous, haunting, almost a cappella tune. There's just some slight movement of orchestration in the background. It sort of feels like a funeral procession, and when I listen to it, it really brings to mind like sort of the feeling of a funeral, so it can be very emotional. And so I definitely have that visceral connection with it. So we have some songs that came out as B-sides for singles in the like early 90s, late 80s, but they never found a home on an album until in 1997, Enya put out not only her Paint the Sky with Stars greatest hits album, which was my first experience with Enya as a kid, listening to in the car with my parents, but she also put out a more expansive 3-disc set called A Box of Dreams. And there were several songs on that that were not included on studio albums, one of them being Morning Glory, which is an instrumental / vocalization track that was a B-side to one of her singles from Shepherd Moons or Watermark. I'm not entirely sure. You can tell that it's a bit demo, it's a bit early, like in her career, but it's still actually a really beautiful tune for what it's giving us. And so for that reason, just gonna put that down here. And then Willows on the Water is a little bit less impressive, but again, trying to evoke in an instrumental something very whimsical of the title. And so I think I'll put it above elevator music, but it's getting close. I think I'll put it like here. Okay. So then we had 2 new songs on the 1997 Greatest Hits album. We had the up-tempo, Rick-rolling Only If, which for some reason definitely gives me the movement of a ship. There's just something very back and forth about this song, and super fun, and I'm definitely, so on it at the end of the day, but I do think all of those songs are just so iconic that I can't possibly put it in nothing groundbreaking. I think this song definitely deserves to be higher than that. So I am going to put it about here. And then we have Paint the Sky with Stars. This is definitely transcendent. This is a song that has, although a very, very, very simplistic melody, one of those melodies that is so well suited for a lullaby, it's honestly insane. It is just the perfect calming, late evening, melancholic lament that you could ever craft in a song. There is something about this that, and the melody and the lyrics of it, that I just always will attach to my childhood. And maybe that's just me having a special place in my heart for it. You know, if I didn't have the nostalgia attached to it, listening to it at like 6 years old, being lulled to sleep in the car, some of my earliest memories, I might not view this song as nearly as strong, but I do think it is, for that reason, just a such beautiful way of painting the sky with music and this emotion that comes through with it. Some of my favorite lines that she has in a song are from this. And it's simple lyricism, but it's very fitting for what it's trying to do. I think that she pulls out the new age kind of generic kind of lyricism in a way that it's one of the times where she's making music that's more for children that I feel like it really works. And there's just something very childlike and special, straight from the heart about it. I May Not Awaken was a B-side off of the On My Way Home single. So this is 1996. And I wish this had gotten onto a proper album. I definitely find this to be a very beautiful melody. It's a very sad song, arguably one of her saddest songs, because it doesn't necessarily have any sort of hope in the lyricism. And so for that reason, it's a bit unique for her. So I'm going to put you around here, I think. My favorite Enya record, The Memory of Trees, which is, by the way, the first album I ever reviewed on this channel. So we've got a ton of songs on this record that are going in the top two categories. The Memory of Trees is, for me, a Mere Mortals Could Never kind of song. There is something about that instrumental that is just absolutely breathtaking. It does so well what it needs to do in terms of the title and what the title would sound like. There's something very druid and very pagan about this track that also feels pan-cultural. It doesn't just feel Irish, it feels, and Celtic. It feels like makes me think of Asia, and it makes me think of other parts of Europe and the pagan cultures that really did worship trees and had a much stronger connection to nature. And Enya was really tapping into something there. I can't express enough my adoration for this song and for most of this album. Anywhere Is, similar to Only If, is one of her most up-tempo singles, and a very strong one at that. Definitely going to put it up here around with that song, probably about there. The syncopation on this one is just so catchy. And as a kid, I had a really hard time understanding what she was saying, but now, of course, now I know the lyrics. Pax Deorum is actually a reimagining of a demo she made for the BBC Celts she was going to do in the 80s. And I think that this is, although not the strongest by any means song on The Memory of Trees, a gorgeous sort of epic journey of a song as it comes to its conclusion and tells us through this, like, stormy sea that has a break in the clouds, and it's very peaceful and then stormy again. So I think for that reason, I definitely, because of the artistry behind this one, definitely have to put it in this category. I think I would put it around here. Let's see. Ether Arniem, which translates to Father in Heaven. Oh my gosh. I might even have to put this one above The Memory of Trees, because there is something about this melody. This is definitely, like, Diora Armoquois is beautiful. This one is to another level. This is peaceful doesn't even begin to describe it. I just feel such power from this song and such spirituality, and it sounds like the gods themselves created this melody. I am absolutely in love with this, and it's a song I will be like listening to my entire life. So can I say more? From Where I Am, a gorgeous piano instrumental. I'm still going to put it in nothing groundbreaking because it is sort of simplistic. but it is still a beautiful song. China Roses, ding, 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 ding. So I think China Roses might be my favorite Enya song of all time. And it's the perfect blend of everything. It's a little bit up tempo, but yet it's still also a ballad. The lyrics are in English, but they are so mysterious and poetic and romantic and esoteric and not generic or cheesy in any way. It's a song that I'd really like to dance to at my wedding, or at least walk down the aisle to whenever, if I ever get married. And it is just one of those songs that is for all time. I mean, it was lodged in my memory at a very early age when I was, 5 or 6, and it has stuck with me. And it's just one of those transcendent songs that, again, I don't think many other musicians could. Let's just say that. Yeah, I can't get enough of this one. Hope Has a Place. The atmosphere of this ballad is truly something else. Truly something else. I almost think it deserves, I think I'm going to put it, I think I'm going to put it in Transcendent. It's a beautiful song. Tea House Moon. A really intriguing instrumental. I almost want more from it, but knowing Enya, it's still giving us what you kind of would like, which is a very Japanese feel in the instrumental. Once You Had Gold. Gosh, I don't know. I mean, everything is going up pretty high in this category. I love the melody of this song. It's very simple, but love it. La Soñadora. Oh my gosh. I mean, again, mere mortals could never, right? I think I'm going to put that in Transcendent. It almost belongs in this category. It really is almost, I'll come back to that. We'll revisit this. Her only song sung in Spanish, and that bridge is the bridge of all bridges. I don't know what else to say, but it is probably the most triumphant, stirring bridge I've ever heard, at least as far as Enya's music is concerned. I mean, she is just really, really got the heartstrings in a knot here. I don't know how. I don't know how. I don't have words. I really don't. And then On My Way Home, there's actually a more up-tempo version of this on the Paint the Sky with Stars Greatest Hits album. But I prefer the longer version. It just has a little bit more interesting of an instrumental. But both versions are great. This is, again, another song that is absolutely brilliant. Probably put it about here. Change my mind. It's going here. No, it's going here. Sorry about that. And then Oreo Window. This was a bonus track on the Japanese version of this record. And then it was also a song that was added to the Great Box of Dreams Greatest Hits album. But for me, this is definitely not necessarily the most groundbreaking melody, so I'm going to put it around with From Where I Am. It's still beautiful, but, it's a simplistic piano melody. The Promise, we're jumping back into the future a little bit here. I don't know why this is out of order. So The Promise was a song that was a added song to a collection that she did as sort of like a greatest hits in 2002 called Only Time, The Collection. And it had all of her songs basically up until that time. And The Promise is a piano ballad that is from that era. And I have to be honest with you, this song deserved to be on an album. I mean, it is so beautiful. It is this beautiful rising crescendo of these chords that really sound like the title. I mean, I don't know what else to say. So for me, this is definitely borderline on the transcendent side. It is absolutely, you know what? You know what? We're going up there. We're going up there. Whew, I still have 3 albums to go. Oh my goodness. Shepherd Moons, what can I say? Her 1991 album, the title track. I think that this is definitely a mere mortals could never moment. It's very elven sounding to me. It's very ethereal and so representative of the title, and yet the title is so unique, and it it makes your imagination run wild. I just absolutely, again, it's sort of like this lullaby, this elven lullaby that lulled me to sleep as like a 6-year-old, that I had no idea even who the singer was, but it was just, it was so, so calming and reflective and beautiful. Caribbean Blue, mere mortals could never. Second favorite song of hers, behind China Roses. Caribbean Blue is something else. Probably, and way better than Orinoco Flow. I think Orinoco Flow is a tad overrated, even though I loved it as a kid. Caribbean Blue is the song with the strongest melody out of all of her up-tempo singles, and the most interesting vocal layering, the most interesting instrumentation, the feel and the waltz-like nature of it. I'd love to see it reenacted as like a ballet on stage, and with like fountains and just the blues and the richness and the turquoise colors of the, I can see it now. And also her most beautiful music video. One of the best music videos I have ever seen. It's very Van Gogh, Starry Night, evocative artist imagery, painterly, Maxfield Parrish, those iconic paintings of his from the early 20th century that she takes inspiration from for so many of her visuals. As a guide, it's in the whimsicality of it, and it is just everything I could want from an Enya melody. And I want her to make music like this again. How Can I Keep From Singing? A traditional Shaker hymn. This is a gorgeous, cover ballad, but it's nothing groundbreaking for me because of that fact. And so for that reason, I do have to put it sort of more in the lower category here. If she had come up with the melody herself, maybe it would be a little bit higher. Ebu Day. Another very African sounding song from her. When I was a kid, I genuinely thought this was a more African tribal chant. I would have not thought of Scottish Highland, women singing, as that is meant to be a Scottish Gaelic, but also I think this is a Latin, Scottish Gaelic chant that is to a Latin title, which is meant to be sort of evoking memories of the Hebrides, the Outer Hebrides in the Scottish Isles, and the culture from long ago back there. She really goes on a Brittonic journey through a lot of these songs, particularly in her early career. Very hypnotic. I think I'll put this up there. Angeles. Supposedly her most vocal layering, over 200 vocal layers stitched together for parts of this chorus, which is insane. Definitely deserves a spot in the Transcendent category. What can I say? Okay, so the Miss Quinn books that have the Miss Quinn instrumentals, I definitely don't find to be that exciting. So I am going to put them kind of low. That's just, it is what it is. She was inspired by these children's books that she read as a kid, and she wanted to do some piano instrumentals for them. Book of Days, one of the other big up-tempo songs, also known as Far and Away. When I was a kid, though, this song was known as For Underwear, because that's what my childlike brain heard when she was singing. And so we would always, when my parents joked that was what the name of the song was. A gorgeous transcendent bit of space in the bridge before the final chorus that is so contrasted beautifully with the pounding rhythm and power of everything else in this song. This is the perfect sort of song to just get you up and get you started with your day. It's got that optimism. It's got that powerful, inspiring optimism that really kind of makes you think about your life and just be like, seize the day, do it. So for that reason, again, very transcendent, probably put around up here. Let's see, Evacuee, a beautiful sort of somewhat jazzier take on a ballad for her, with the horn section coming in and the echo of Marble Halls at the very beginning. Probably put you around here. Yeah. Lothlorien. I said that Enya was a Tolkien fan, and this was, made 10 years before the Lord of the Rings films. Lothlorien being the elven kingdom in the forest from those films that is so esoteric and sort of above the rest of Middle Earth in terms of being closer to heaven and so magical. And Enya totally belongs there. It's somewhere I would love to go. And so the fact that she made a song inspired by that, although I would love more from this song, it's very simplistic and repetitive, something Enya is known for. The lilting synth chords are just still, to this day, iconic. And so, I mean, this song has to have a somewhat high placement for that reason. Marble Halls. Now, this is a cover, but I have to put it simply so high just because of how beautiful it is. This is like from an opera, I believe. And I, again, found it to be just such a calming lullaby as a kid. And a song that just really is elevated by the fact that she really showcases her crystalline, pure soprano vocals. I love that there's not as much reverb and there's not as much layering on her voice for this one song. Afra Ventus, brilliant vocalization techniques from her here, really great rhythm. Probably put it around, yeah, I'll say around there for now. I'm not even sure how to pronounce this, but it translates to thoughts in Irish, and it's one of the saddest songs. I don't know if it has the saddest melody. I think it's one of the saddest melodies she's ever created, as basically a reflection on, you know, her grandparents' death, people she's known who's died, the ancestral line of, you know, people who have passed on. It's just, it's a dirge in that way. It's that funeral anthem, and it's a very traditional Irish sounding melody. There's the Julian pipes that come in towards the end to elevate it in that regard. And you can't help but be stirred to tears sometimes listening to it for that reason. And then this is another Irish ballad that is not attached to this album, but it was released as a B-side for one of the singles. I can't remember if it was Book of Days or if it was for How Can I Keep From Singing. I think it was from How Can I Keep From Singing. And demo quality and sound, but still actually quite beautiful. And so I definitely think that this deserves a shout out. I think I'll put it like down here. We come to her 1998 album, Watermark. Her iconic instrumental, definitely goes up in the Transcendent category. I think I will put it up about here. It's just quintessential Enya. That's all I can say. It's the story and the ending. It's the beginning and the ending. I hear when I listen to that melody, the beginning and the end of a story, if that makes sense. And it makes you think the same sort of emotions you would think of beginning a new journey and also ending a journey and reflecting back on it. That's all I can say about that. Cursum Perficio. Gothic, Latin chanting, choral elements that are truly otherworldly. I think for that reason that this is definitely one of her Transcendent tracks. It's grown on me actually even more over time. It was definitely a song I didn't hear until years later when I finally listened to more of her stuff instead of just the Paint the Sky Blue Stars greatest hits. This song has something else on it, and I really want her to go back into that a little bit more. On Your Shore, gorgeous, romantic, simple but powerful melody. Let's see. Gosh, we're getting a lot in this category here. It's starting to really fill up. Let's see. I think I might put this just above Diamonds on the Water. Storms in Africa. Oh my gosh. I mean, again, when she explores different cultures and the rhythm and sound and the music that you think of with that, she can really pull off something truly, you know, pan-cultural and something very equatorial that for an artist who makes predominantly Irish Celtic music, it's somewhat like, wow, I'm surprised. No wonder I thought Enya was a woman of color, either Latina or an African woman back when I was as a kid, because for me, it just didn't seem like a white woman could make music like this. It felt so primordial and so African. And so it's yeah, definitely. Do I want to put it in Transcendent or Mere Mortals Could Never? I think I'm going to put it in Mere Mortals Could Never, just because I think that there is something about this that just, it really does just shine above the music I hear from a lot of people. Exile. What can I say? I'm not as actually a big fan of this song as some people might believe. I just find it to be like there are songs that tread this territory stronger to come in her catalog. And so I forget about it a lot, but that's not to say that it is not a strong song. Again, Miss Claire Remembers, again, I have to put it in the sort of more elevator music kind of category. I'll put them together here. Orinoco Flow. So the ironic thing is a lot of people would probably put this in our top 10. I'm actually only going to put this at here in the Transcendent category, only because I do think, although it's an amazing song, maybe I should be putting it up here. I'm a little tired of it. I've heard it so many times. It's very repetitive. There are parts of it that are just a pizzicato, rippling synth is still just so yeah, like I said, it's so equatorial, and you know, like I was so infatuated with the rhythm of this song. Evening Falls, much preferred to Exile for me. This is a song I prefer a lot more. It's my favorite ballad actually on Watermark. River. I want more from this song. I really do. I think at the time it might have been more special, but it feels very dated. And when I think of a river, I understand it's steady, it's flowing, it's constant, and there is something to the synth work on this song that evokes that. But I wish there were more lush sounds that evoke that. I want more sort of to this instrumental. And so for that reason, you know, I have to be a little harsher on it. I almost would put it in elevator music, but for the fact that I do think there is some real artistry to it. And I don't feel like it was just purely new age fodder. I felt like there was something primordial about it, but I want more from it. The Long Ships. You know, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not as huge a fan of this song. I think I'm going to put it around here, maybe at the top of Nothing Groundbreaking. It is groundbreaking, but not for me. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know. By the time I listened to so many of other songs, this was one of the later songs I got familiar with, and I was just like, oh, this is a neat sort of sailing tune, but I could get it more from other songs. And then La Naleta Mogal, the melody is okay, but the lyrics are gutting to this song. I mean, singing about missing your childhood and fearing that your best days of your life might be behind you is something that you don't see a lot of, at that point, 28-year-olds singing. Enya was my age when she wrote this song. And you'd think like a young person is not going to write such a song like this, but because you still have so much youth ahead of you. But reflecting on childhood and missing that innocence is something that I don't see a lot of people my age doing, but it's something I think about a lot. And so it has like a real, yeah, I'm going to put it around here. Finally, we have the original album from her, which was originally called Enya, released in 1987. However, you'll see the album art here is for the Celts, which was re-released in 1992. So we're a little out of order, but this was the original album. The Celts, which is the rhythmic chanting druidic opener, is, again, just storybook perfection. The music video, it's my second favorite music video of hers. And again, it's in that category of, I don't know if mere mortals could ever make something like this. It is just so transcendent that I feel the power of this song infinitely. Aldebaran, when I first heard this, I was blown away. Now it's sort of fallen back a little bit, but I still find the esoteric wonder of this song to be something else. I Want Tomorrow, boy, is that a weird music video. And the only time we see Enya with long hair, which I find very interesting. It's somewhat plodding melodically. So I have to be honest with you, it is kind of nothing groundbreaking. But at the same time, I do understand that at the time, this was like their first sort of time experimenting with making music and making ballads. And so for the time, it was sort of a greatest hit kind of thing. But there are much stronger songs of hers to come. The guitar breakdown is interesting. March of the Celts, this song really doesn't do much for me. I don't know what it is, but I just don't really get into it the same way. The Celts song itself is just like, wow. And then March of the Celts is so lackluster to me. I'm afraid it's going in elevator music. Triad an Tuath is a Gaelic sort of invocation. It's really haunting. And so short song, but definitely deserves to get a honorable mention here. The Sun in the Stream, nothing groundbreaking. I think that this is a perfectly nice Irish sounding Julian pipe melody, but it's a little saccharine. Fairytale, we're getting into the storybook sort of traditional instrumentation, kind of familiar sounding melodies. It's not, I don't know how to describe it, but it's her finding her footing. There's a lot of hit or miss on this debut record. And a lot of it feels like background music to as it would be a documentary, which is what this music was for. So some of this music is going to have to go into lower categories for that reason. But, I mean, that's one of the stronger ones. Epona, most people who are Legend of Zelda fans might be like, oh, Epona, we know Epona, right? Well, actually, Enya wrote this song way back before Legend of Zelda was really a thing. Epona is, I guess, apparently the name of some sort of goddess, historical figure. I'm not sure in Irish mythology. So that's where that is being channeled from. The Legend of Zelda team kind of co-opted that name. This is sort of a really simplistic, playful harp melody. But it's nothing groundbreaking. I mean, again, kind of around with Fairytale. Put it like around here or something. The Triad, it consists of 3 songs. They're both sort of just these different meditations on choral chant music in Gaelic. A lot of it is about St. Patrick, who is the patron, patron saint of Ireland. And so there's historical reference in the lyrics. But for me, this is definitely one of the more sort of plodding, okay songs that she's put out. Not exactly something I fall back for. Portrait, Out of the Blue, a piano melody. It's perfectly beautiful. Again, I'm not going to phone home about it. Boadisia, very simplistic, but I do think it deserves an honorable mention for the fact that it is just so tribal, so rhythmic. It was the closing song on that Paint the Sky with Stars album, which kind of took you, it was sort of just like this never-ending march feel as this song kind of marched towards the future. And there's this ominous unknown that you can feel in the primal humming she does. And it's really rhythmic humming. And it was actually sampled because you kind of could feel a hip hop beat on top of it by the Fugees for their song Ready or Not in 1996, something that Enya was not too thrilled about when she found out, because I don't think they asked for her permission. And, she's a little bit more of a traditionalist, and she's like, I don't necessarily want people cursing over my music in lyrics, but they settled it, and luckily I'm glad the song was still able to be played, because actually I think it's a great song. The Fugees really, I think, ride this beat wonderfully. It's asking for a hip-hop sample. Let's be real. I'd love to see Nicki Minaj go off on this beat, because Nicki Minaj has professed to be an Enya fan, so I have a feeling that, I would love to see that. I just don't know if Enya would let any other artists use her music anymore. I'm not sure if she's, as she gets older, going to get more liberal about that or anything. I don't know. Okay, and then we've got, again, just a few other little instrumentals that were the backbone to this documentary. We've got Bard Dance, similar to Epona, not that exciting, medieval fair, something you'd play at a Renaissance fair. Dan Dur, the only song she sings in Welsh, which is another ancient Brittonic language. And I'm going to put it next to Dariad on Tuath because it's a similar melody. It's basically the same melody, but sung in some in Welsh and a little bit lower in her register. And then we have To Go Beyond. So To Go Beyond is really one song, but it's split into two on the record. But the one we really care about is the final one because it has that beautiful either violin or cello moment, which is so stirring and pastoral. And so it lifts up the rest of the song because for me, it's otherwise not that special. And for that lift it gives, I'm going to put it still in Nothing Groundbreaking, but it's at the very top of that for me. The only other song I'm thinking of that I forgot here is there's a reversed version of this song called Eclipse, which was on the A Box of Dreams box set. And I would have put that around here too had I remembered to include that in here. But let's look at my finished list. So the top category has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 songs. I'm wondering if I want to add a 10th song to this category. What song would I add? Perhaps this one. Okay. I'm pretty good. I'm pretty happy with this top 10. Honestly, I am pretty happy with this top 10. I don't think I would really change too much about it. This category I'm also looking at pretty happy with. I think all of these songs deserve to be up this high. Yeah, and then as we get into this category, I'm still feeling very good about the placements of a lot of these songs. Maybe I would move Anywhere Is up just a bit to like here. Yeah, maybe move Only If. No, I'm pretty happy with that. Yeah, no, I'm pretty happy with the placements of a lot of these. And then we have Nothing Groundbreaking. Again, I'm feeling pretty good about this category as well. The elevator music category, which is sort of somewhat this category as well. And then we have our 2 cringe songs. Definitely fitting to be in there. So that is my ranking of all of Enya's music. What would your ranking be? I will link in the description a link to a blank template of this tier maker list I made for Enya's music. And so you can make your own, and feel free in the comments to share what yours would be, what your top 10, your least favorite 10, whatever you want to share, what your ranking would be if you agree, disagree. Remember, it's just my opinion. And I had a lot of fun making this. It's definitely a video that was long overdue for my channel. And it's also something I want to do with more artists. I've already done this with Björk. I did that earlier in the summer where I ranked all of her music. She's another artist I love. And I want to do this with more artists. I want to do it with Madonna. I want to do it with Lana Del Rey. I want to do it with Florence and the Machine. So I definitely, hopefully will be making more of these videos in the near future. So look forward to that, as well as, of course, more upcoming album reviews. And yeah, I enjoyed making this. I hope you all enjoyed watching. I hope you all have a wonderful, blessed day. If you don't listen to Enya enough, I highly recommend you listen to her more because we all could use a little bit more Enya in our lives. And that's all I have to say there. Thank you all so much for watching. Please give this a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you are new, and I will see you all in my next video. Peace, love, and light. Bye.